step you've seen since being in the industry?
Can we talk about the worst? There's a
Hmm.
misspelling.
Hmm.
That can be pretty bad. Oftentimes I have this little editing tidbits. I say, okay, they didn't do so well today.
Another episode of Grab Coffee with Me, where great conversations and even better coffee meet purpose, leadership, and the people making a real impact in their communities and industries. Today's episode is brought to you by Dowden Golf Solutions, transforming corporate events one golf experience at a time. I'm your host, Ian Peterson. Today's guest is someone who truly understands the power of words and the responsibility that comes with them. She's a writer, editor, and communications strategist with more than 20 years of experience helping leaders, organizations, and brands tell their stories with clarity and purpose. Along the way, she's led copy teams for major retail brands, worked closely with scientific authors, and helped small businesses shine through live events and community-driven initiatives. As the founder of Meaghan Ross Creative, she partners with wellness, education, and mission-driven organizations to create messaging that feels consistent, thoughtful, and human across every touch point. Please welcome Meaghan Ross. That was a mouthful, Meaghan.
Yeah.
I've known you for quite a long time. I didn't know all of this, and this is great. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So welcome to the Grab Coffee with Me podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
So just get right into it. Do you drink coffee? Are you a coffee drinker?
I do drink coffee now. I often tell the story of how I'm not a real coffee drinker, but I became a coffee drinker after becoming a mother and having to return to work. So, yes, I am now a coffee drinker.
There we go. We all start somewhere. So I've known you for a while, but before Meaghan Ross Creative existed, who was Meaghan Ross?
Honestly, I just was your typical career path woman,
Mm-hmm.
writing, editing, various background areas of books, magazines, newspaper, and really just kind of working through the corporate world, you know.
So what nudged you to kind of start your own thing?
Well, certainly in leadership in the corporate world, as I mentioned, leading copy teams and enjoying that for sure. But I became a mom and just thought about how my mom was there for me when growing up. She worked nights so that she could have that flexibility to be there during the important times. And so for me, that's when I thought, you know what, I've got a lot of experience. I've done a lot of things. Well, now I kind of want a little more time.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier that you work with like wellness, education, mission-driven organizations. What drew you to those industries, and how intentional was the niche versus something that evolved over time?
I've always loved it's really a combination of all my passions together,
Hmm.
to be honest, and I started my career in healthcare and before really delving more into the communication side of things, but it's never left me. So I've always
Yeah.
enjoyed wellness, healthy living, even now. And I consider myself to be a lifelong learner. So that's where the education piece comes in. There's always something to learn. We don't know it all,
Yeah.
and while we continue to learn, it really keeps us on our toes and keeps us relevant in whatever field we're pursuing. So there's that. And then the mission driven side comes in because they're doing good. These organizations are out
Mhm.
there with their purpose, really helping different ones. And so it all blends together nicely for me anyway to help those who are pursuing those industries.
Nice. So communication, it's an art, right? And also a system. So for business leaders like myself and those who are listening or watching, what does that actually look like in practice when building content or brand voice? We hear that all the time, a brand voice.
Yes, yes, yes. And so your brand voice is your personality,
Mhm.
right? And so the art side of it is that creativity. How are we really going to sit down and define your personality as a brand or
Mhm.
as a leader? Because there's also personal brands, right? So what do you want the your audience to know about you in that communication realm? So that's the art of it,
Mhm.
the brainchild behind it. And then your systems is that exactly that, your frameworks. Well, does it meet, is it nurturing? Is it caring? Are you more professional? Are you laid back? And so those frameworks really help with the system of it, and as it comes together, I mean, it's a beautiful thing, and something that people will recognize you for within your brand.
Now, you work with organizations like medical education teams and nonprofits where accuracy really, really matters. It can't be any fluff or facade. How do you balance empathy and humanity with precision and compliance and kind of like high stakes content?
You wanna lead with integrity. I always wanna act with integrity, right? So, I learned while working at the paper, actually at Tampa Bay Times, that, it's important. They say it best, "Get it right and get it right the first time." So, there's that part of it. So, accuracy is absolutely important, doing your due diligence, but at the same time, you don't wanna have lose the expense of the human care side of it. So, really thinking about who's on the other side, right? So having the accuracy, but making sure that humanity, that human part of it is in there, so that it resonates.
So as a writer, editor, strategist, you probably view things, most likely view things with a different lens than the rest of us. We talk about marketing, talk about branding, and I see some things I'm like, wow, why would they put that out there? Or did they read that? Because you can tell when it's rushed, the phrasing or the grammar, everything is just all off. They just wanted to put the story out there. What's the worst that you've seen since being in the industry?
We're living in this world, money loves speed, as the saying goes. And so you really will see inaccuracies, disjointed content themes. That's what I see a lot of.
Okay.
You
All right.
know,
Makes
uh,
sense.
they want to a brand or a business communicates this way in an email, but then the message is completely different on their socials. And and then it leaves the audience kind of scratching their head, or the buyer looking like, well, what are you really selling here, or what are you really offering? What is your service? What are you really providing? So that is a biggie, as well as holistically relying on AI to
Yes.
create the content. That's a
Yes.
big thing that we're seeing a lot of today, just
Mhm.
because it's rushed to market,
Mhm.
and it's really kind of interesting. So it kind of wants you to take a stop, and a way to help correct in that is even just putting some parameters in place, that can help with that, make it a little more human, thinking about your audience a little bit more, using the AI to help you get to that point of,
Yeah.
hey, we need this agent, because then it tells me, oh, let's be consistent. You said this over here, but you didn't say this over here. You're missing. You're disconnected.
Yeah. So how do you feel about AI or use of AI in your industry? You mentioned as far as it helping you, but how do you personally feel about
It's a mixed bag. It's still pretty early.
it? Mhm.
The use of AI, for me, as I was sharing with someone the other day, it's about accuracy. So there's
Yeah.
always that for me. I can't help my editing self. Accuracy is very important. So it's important to check what the AI is giving out. But I do absolutely think it's a good thing. I've been an early adopter to AI. I've been using AI now probably a little. Let's see, 2022 is when it really came on the scene, and I waited a year. So I've been using it since then. So after a year in, so a little bit over 2 years for me, and I use it in different aspects of life. So I definitely see the positives, the good that AI can do, but of course, with anything, technology-wise or otherwise, there can be, limitations to it.
Yeah. I had a guest on a couple months ago. He's a leader in the IT industry, and he talked about not feeling as if AI would take jobs away, but he felt as if those who knew how to use AI will still be very important in the workforce, especially in IT. Do you feel the same way, when it comes to marketing and branding and things like that?
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
It's a good assistant.
Yeah.
You can look at it that way. It's a good
Mhm.
assistant. I've used it for process improvements, workflows, just speeding up things really,
Yeah.
rather than doing the work for me, because there is the caution of, brain rot, as we'll call it, or just that idea of letting it do the work for you. But as a creative, I want to keep that creative element. So I use it as an accompaniment rather than it doing the work for me. And so I agree with those sentiments.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I don't believe that there are jobs. I mean, let's be honest, there are certainly roles that will be eliminated or can be eliminated
Hmm.
due to artificial intelligence. However, I think it really dovetails nicely with any industry. It can work alongside the role rather than replace.
So, as a founder, editor, and strategist, you often help others find their voice. But what about Meaghan's voice? How has your own leadership voice evolved, as your business has grown?
Well, thank you for asking that question. I was thinking about that, and it's really, I'm gonna say, in mentorship, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've been able to give back. So we often learn, do, and then teach,
Yeah,
right? And so for me, as a leader in this industry, absolutely, I am love helping others. I have learned enough and know enough to know, okay, well, hey, this is how this should be done, instructing and mentoring the next generation of storytellers.
nice. So your mom, your wife. Prior to this recording, we talk about just the week and being busy and planning and things like that. So, how do you define success in this season of life, right? In this stage, and how has that definition changed over time?
Well, I can say, and if you don't mind, I'll add a caregiver to that because
Did
I
you
am
look?
also in that
I
stage of
forgot
life.
about that. Yes, I'm sorry about
I
that.
am
Yeah,
also in
and
that if
and
I'm
a caregiver. Yep.
also in that stage of life.
Mm,
But even with those three very distinct roles, success is possible, And so for me, success is a balanced life. Balance is key, but at the same time, it's with boundaries, implemented boundaries as needed. And so it's certainly evolved over time, right? Your early career, you're grinding and
yeah,
we're at all costs, do whatever we need to do at all costs. But now it's really about prioritizing what matters,
yeah.
the more important things. So that for me is supporting the people who are important in my life,
Hmm.
volunteering in my community as I can, and
Hmm.
doing and creating work that is meaningful and feels good,
Yeah,
that I'm proud of.
yeah. Well, thanks for supporting me in my podcast. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Absolutely.
A lot
Absolutely.
of your work supports mission-driven organizations. They really do some meaningful work. Why is it important to you that storytelling serves real people, not just brands or just numbers?
Yeah. Storytelling, it just resonates.
Yeah,
It resonates with people. Stories have moved people and since the beginning of time. And so that hasn't changed. It's the same thing, So as we are developing these narratives, it's important to remember who is on the other end. So yes, metrics are important. Obviously, we use them to determine what's working and what's not. But at the end of the day, people to people.
yeah, exactly. So for organizations trying to connect more authentically, with their communities, and we talked about this earlier, but what's one common mistake you see and what simple shift can they make to communicate better or feel more human when communicating? We talked about the mistake of misspellings and things like that, but what else do you
Mhm.
see out there?
Yes. Again, just that disjointed, messaging within the content. I think that's really important now. Just knowing that, hey, if we can get the messaging right and clear, I always say, what's the story?
Yeah, yeah.
And having it to maintain consistency throughout. I think that really helps with brands and organizations, and again, even people, because as a person, and I've helped people with their personal brands as well. Same kind of thing. Well, you have this body of work. you have this experience. Well, let's make sure that you are showing being put into the best light possible.
Now you mentioned doing work in the community, and I think I saw a post not too long ago about something that you do up in a community center with young people or young adults. Talk to us more about that and how they can benefit from what you offer, what you say, or what you present.
Yes. So I do actually have recently just launched this storytelling workshop
Yeah.
at the local fine arts center, and it was every year. I love going to the Great American Teaching at various schools and talking about writing, talking about storytelling, and so in November I did that because it's in November every year, and I enjoyed that very much. So anyway, yes, now launching a storytelling workshop for teens, actually,
Nice.
because, I often look back where I got my start as a teenager, and a teacher helped me identify, hey, you have this talent. So how can we foster that? And so if I'm working on doing that with teens, that's just a little community project that I love because the next generation, again, that's a way to help that next generation develop their voice and create stories, whether it's for publishing or not, that they can look back on and be proud of.
How did your teacher help you find your voice?
You want me to tell a story? No.
Yeah.
Well, my eighth grade teacher now, my eighth grade teacher is the one who did that. But, she really did. And I always say it was a book report. And whatever I did, it was excelling praise from her. And that's
Yeah.
really what put me on the path, in Twin Arts High School, all the things to really hone my craft.
Mhm. So if you had a conversation with young Meaghan, 12-year-old Meaghan, and she doesn't know what she wants to do in life, what career path that she wants to take, what would you tell her?
Hmm. I think I would tell her to go with what you're passionate about.
Mhm.
May not know fully how that's going to look, but listen to those around you. Those who are paying attention to you and taking an interest in you can see your talent, and so go with that.
Yeah.
Go with that and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
And
Great.
it's okay to pivot.
Yeah.
You know, I think for when I look back, the breadth of work that I've done, because certainly today there's a term multi-hyphenate as a creative, right? So I've been in different arenas. I would certainly tell 12-year-old Meaghan to it's okay to try different areas. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. You'll figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Well, Meaghan, thanks again for your time. I know you're busy. Thanks for joining me for a virtual cup of coffee. And to my audience, thank you for listening to another episode of Grab Coffee with me, caffeinated by Dialed and Golf Solutions. I hope you learned something today because I did. If you like this episode, don't forget to like, share, subscribe on all major streaming platforms so you don't miss what's brewing next. Until next time, keep your coffee strong and your conversations meaningful.